Alright guys, it has been a very long time between videos and probably an even longer time between any progress on old Tobi here behind me. So as a lot of you have probably seen, I've had Tobi kind of here on the 4-post, which is my long-term storage hoist, storage / work hoist. It's kind of got to the point where, obviously it's not my daily anymore, I finally kind of built up the courage and I was like, you know what, fuck it, it's time for some body work and just to go through the whole kind of car and just finish off some things that I might not have been happy with or rush through to get things done previously. I mean, I was pretty happy with the car, but you know, there's a few things that were always shitting me. Obviously, being pretty busy, I haven't really had much time to dedicate to this car or to any car really. And also getting the motivation, you know, it kind of comes in waves, especially when you had the car kind of working well to begin with, and then you kind of pull stuff off and modify stuff and change stuff around. A lot of you guys probably feel the same. You kind of lose your workflow with the project, or kind of lose enthusiasm or whatever. So today I'm actually feeling like doing something to it. So I figured it's kind of been a while, so I may as well give you guys kind of a walkthrough on what's been happening and what's in the pipeline as well. So let's have a look. Okay, so I guess the first thing you probably noticed, and you have probably seen on Instagram or Facebook if you follow, I've decided to kind of do something different with the front guards, and yeah, kind of cool, something a bit different. I don't like my car looking like anyone else's, so I like to give things their little kind of flair. Like, look, speaking of flares, what you may not have noticed, but I've actually done custom rear guards on this ages ago, because they're normally square. So that's the first subtle kind of thing. It looks a lot better round in my opinion. But yeah, basically just a matter of cutting that out neatly and kind of folding it in. And I ended up just kind of folding up some infill pieces, and I ended up doing just spot welds here and then a full weld on the outside corner here, and then I've just kind of done the rest with filler, because if I was trying to run a weld in there and trying to grind that nice and then fill it would have been an absolute pain in the dick. So that's why I did that. It's actually turned out really cool. I've just got a couple of coats of primer on it. It needs to obviously be blocked back. There's a few spots where I need to fill in any air holes from the filler, and yeah, I mean the guards are they're probably 90% done, and then they can get painted with everything else. So that's the first kind of really cool thing. They're almost there, I just need to get back onto them, but I'll probably go through and do all the bodywork stuff, and then we'll finish it all off and spray it and whatever in one kind of foul swoop. So coming over here, you can see that I'm working on a factory bumper. But it's not actually factory, because you can see here, I have actually extended it. So I love the polypropylene stock bumpers. They're so flexible, they don't break. Fiberglass, you hit it and it cracks. My previous bar was fucking so awesome looking, but I just got sick of the front end. It was so messy, it had been hit so many times. I already ended up just kind of cutting this section out and putting like some flat kind of plastic garden edging through it, just to make it, because the problem with lowered cars and front bars, if they're too long, you're gonna smack stuff. So you kind of can't beat the factory bar. Obviously it's got the nice kind of radius on the bottom, and then it's got the angle on the kind of spot where you are likely to hit is also kind of clearanced a bit, and it's also as short as possible. Obviously the factory bar kind of finishes at that level. So what I've actually done is, it's down to the table, but basically I bought 2 aftermarket bars. So I've basically cut this section through here, basically goes right along that kind of line there, off the second bar, and then I've planted it on here. And I've just kind of finished plastic welding it today. So it's turned out pretty cool. I've never plastic welded before. I'm kind of getting the hang of it. It's not the nicest looking thing, but once it's kind of ground and sanded back and a bit of plastic filler, it should come up pretty mint. So as you can see, it just looks way better. The intercooler fits nicely. I've also kind of reshaped the mouth because I hate how the stock mouth looks. It looks so shit and happy. So I mean, once it's all sanded and ground back, it's gonna look pretty schmick, I reckon. And like I said, I just like the factory polypropylene material, and also somewhat sleeper-ish. I mean, it's clearly not a sleeper, but just a bit more of a factory look. All right, so I just pulled the bar off. You can kind of see the difference. So this is my original bar that was once on the car many years ago. You can see the big difference in the mouth, or what I call the mouth anyway. It's probably almost, probably double and a half as tall now, so much more aggressive. As you can see, obviously back in the day, I tried to make it look a bit more mean, but they're just a very happy looking front bar, which I'm not a fan of. So this one looks a lot more aggressive. And yeah, I mean, now it's off, I can kind of grind back all the plastic welds and kind of get everything starting to blend in nicely, but I'm pretty stoked with that. It's looking pretty mean. So I guess while the bar's off, I can show you some more stuff. One thing I've been wanting to do for ages is kind of cut the middle of the rad support out. So I've done it, and basically just got some bolt connections. I've just got a plate in there that's got some threads tapped into it, obviously on both sides. So when it comes time to pull the engine, it's just a matter of kind of pulling the whole front end of the car off and just swinging the engine out the front instead of trying to get it up and over, which can sometimes be a pain in the ass. Another thing I've done is kind of got rid of the air box in here. Obviously, normally you've got your washer bottle and also your vacuum reservoir down in this front wheel well. So I've fucked them off, they'll probably go in the tray now. And then I've got the pod filter now sitting down here, and I've got a waterproof sock over that. So before you go crazy in the comments and say, oh, you're gonna suck water in and hydrolock the engine, it's protected. I mean, I'm not going to be driving through massive puddles. This will ensure that we'll be sucking in only the cleanest and coldest air possible, so completely isolated from the engine bay. As you can see, I've just put some nutserts in. I had obviously a hole, well, I've had a few different holes previously, so I've just kind of done an average and kind of cut the bulk of that shit out and just done a nice kind of bulkhead plate that's nutserted in, which has got then obviously just a pipe running through it, which then connects to the turbo intake. So that's all nice and neat. So I've also deleted the aerial, as you'll probably notice. Just cleans the panel up a bit. I personally don't listen to the radio anyway, and if I wanted to, I'll just put a kind of powered digital aerial inside the car. One other major thing that needs to happen, and now that COVID's kind of fucking off, you've got to get the windscreen pulled out, and there is some rust. So probably 5 years ago, I had the windscreen replaced because I had a stone chip and then that cracked, and you know how it happens. So to my dismay, when the window was pulled out, there was quite a bit of rust kind of down in this corner and kind of down along this kind of scuttle panel. So at the time, obviously, the guy was there, it was my daily at the time, so there was no chance of kind of bringing it in the shop and doing some rust repairs. So we just kind of had to clean as much loose rust off as possible and then put the windscreen back in. But now that it's here, I'm kind of like, you know what, time to pull this bad boy out and fix all the rust. And I mean, it's kind of good because well, not so much the A-pillar, but obviously that blends into the roof. On the roof, I don't know if you can see, I mean, from when I've originally had the car, there's some dents and some scratches kind of up on the top rear corner of the roof. Obviously some paint kind of missing there. So it's my chance now, I can kind of fix up all that stuff and kind of respray the kind of, all the windscreen area, A-pillar, roof, and get that all nice and neat. Obviously at the same time, I'll spray the guards and whatever else I end up kind of touching that needs paint. Another thing I'm pretty well decided I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the engine out, mainly for the fact of just, it's going to be so much easier just to kind of clean up all the engine bay. Now that I've kind of got all the holes cut, and you know, as you kind of spend your years developing the vehicle, you're bashing places to fit things and you're cutting holes for things. Now that everything's kind of developed and it's in its final place, I guess, it's time to go through and just give the engine bay a nice clean up. I'm not going to go full show car spec. I just want to clean up all kind of dents and everything, and just it's had a few different coats of paint over the years. I think last time I did it was when I had the heads off, so it was kind of a pain in the ass trying to work around the engine. So I decided I'm just going to pull the engine out, and at the same time, yes, I'm going to put a cam in it. I kind of wanted to take this to the absolute limit with a stock cam, but I think we've pretty much got there, and while the engine's out, I may as well put a cam. I'll probably send the heads off just to be checked over, and probably put some stiffer valve springs and maybe some other stuff depending on how crazy I go with the cam. And look, I'm also having some very dirty thoughts. I'm trying not to, but I really love the Haltech IC7 dash, and I could really see one sitting nicely in Tobi. Also the Foz. And I do like a nice modern ECU. Just, not that there's anything wrong with the ECU that's in this, it runs the car perfectly, it's not a limitation, but it's just the extra kind of I/O inputs, outputs for a modern ECU, and also just engine kind of protection characteristics. It's very tempting. I don't know, anyone who knows me is probably like, yeah, he's gonna fucking, classic Carl is just gonna do it anyway because he's fucking crazy. May end up happening, but maybe I'll just kind of get all the bodywork stuff done and drive the car for a bit, and then maybe think about doing an ECU. I mean, the engine's not at the point where it needs an aftermarket ECU, but just like I said, having that engine protection and just the compatibility to have a nice kind of IC7 dash that has everything on it. I'm really digging those Haltech products, so I'm thinking about it. I'm having dirty thoughts.
And one other thing that's also on the cards is I want to kind of redo most of the exhaust system. As you can kind of see on that spot there, that's taken a bit of a beating over the years. Also a bit further up, where is it? Where the cat is, that V-band's obviously taken a beating. These cars are really shit to do a big exhaust for because there's not really much room. I've kept it as tucked as physically possible. This is a 3-inch system all the way from turbo back. So I mean, this dump pipe here is pretty new and it's nicely done. So I'm kind of thinking maybe from this V-band here, I want to go to a 3-inch oval. So that will save me a fair bit of space under the car, and it will get it up out of the way. Basically it'll be tucked higher than the kind of rocker panels and the sills and everything. So that's another thing that's on the cards. Obviously depends on stock. I'll probably get the stuff from Ben Brothers. So yeah, that's another thing. That'll be kind of fun. It's been a while since I've done an exhaust, so.
I mean, let's be real. I just like redoing stuff. It's quite obvious now. Ooh. And another thing that I've just seen, I've also kind of cut the, where are they? I think they're here. Cut the factory radiator support mounts out. I've obviously drilled the spot welds out and kind of knocked them out. I had already cut the middle out before, just so I can kind of get the radiator back. And I also did have some ducting coming up from under the car that went through there. So it kind of went under the cooler and up to the radiator. But I've decided to fuck them off completely now. And I've kind of just bent up some new brackets and welded them in. So I think I've kind of moved the rad back a bit, so it's got a bit of an angle. I may kind of do a shroud up behind the rad and kind of vent it out the bonnet. As I said, I'm kind of just going through and just cutting out stuff that isn't necessary and could be done better. And yeah, I mean, that's the good thing about having a car just sitting on the hoist that you can kind of tinker with. My main priority is still kind of the surf, because I can at least go away in that and have some downtime and enjoy myself. All right, so that's basically the list as it sits at the moment. Things are definitely going to change. Well, those are the core things that are definitely going to happen, but that's more than likely going to be stuff compiled on top. So stay tuned for any more updates. If you don't already, go and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Boosted Built Garage. I normally post more stuff on there kind of in the interim, because obviously it's a lot easier and faster than shooting a proper video and editing it and then posting it. So this is kind of the update that a lot of you have probably been waiting for on Tobi. I know a lot of you I've been waiting for an update with a build engine and all that stuff. It has gone through my mind, but there's just funds that can be allocated to different things and better things right now. The engine's perfectly healthy and it makes good power, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where it goes and how far it will go until it does explode. So yeah, that is on the cards definitely. At least getting a cam and getting some kind of valve train stuff done, that'll kind of take it up to the next level. But yeah, it's kind of another interesting learning curve that I'm going down. I haven't really done any panel beating or body work before, and definitely not any automotive spray painting, so I'm kind of keen to see how that turns out. Ben did a bit on his Prado and he did a really good job with that, so it's kind of got me pretty hopeful that I'll be able to pick it up pretty quick. Mainly the spray painting. The panel beating kind of falls into the fabrication stuff that I already do, so that's pretty self-explanatory and straightforward. You just got to kind of take your time and get things right. But yeah, hopefully get this car on the road sooner than later. Get it back on the dyno, especially now Ben's got his new dyno up and running and in his own facility, so we can actually spend some time kind of dialing stuff in, testing some stuff. Can finally get the water meth set up. I don't know how long ago I set that up initially, but just have never had a chance to actually run it on the dyno because there's always something that friggin' goes wrong, as you all know. But yeah, get it back on the road, get a good set of drag tyres. I want to get like some nice 15-inch drag rims and put some nice drag slicks on it as well, so that I can hopefully get some decent traction and you know, get some times where the car should actually be sitting and get me some seat time and some more kind of driver mod as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, especially once COVID kind of fucks off and things start to open up again. Can hopefully get out and start enjoying this car if I ever get it done. But yeah, hopefully this is a decent update for all you Tobi fans out there. And yeah, as I said, I've just been pretty flat out, haven't had much time to work on cars, let alone kind of shoot videos or edit them. So I'm kind of taking the approach of kind of just doing stuff because it's normally staged over multiple weeks or months, and then kind of doing an update video and kind of posting how I did it. So I don't know, let me know in the comments if you like that kind of style. I still want to go obviously into as much depth as possible, but it's just hard when you're only kind of doing like, you know, half an hour here, an hour there, whatever. So anyway, I'm going to go and get this front bar kind of cleaned up, and I'll see you on the next update.